What is going on, guys? This is another episode of Noiz.I Talks with friends. It was very difficult getting in here just because I thought it was going to be easier than what it was because I did it with my friend Marcus and now I'm here with another guest. So we had some trouble, but we are finally here. This is episode 21. Wow, so this has been going on for quite some time now. But today's guest, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that he's a good friend of mine just because we don't talk as much, but we do have a certain level of respect for each other, and I think that respect goes a long way. But this is someone that I admire. I admire a lot of people that I interview, but this is someone that I admire strictly because of the work that he puts into to his brands, to what he does, and now he's venturing out to doing bigger stuff. But I'll let him give himself an introduction. But today we have
It's Tyreek, man. Hey,
Tyreek.
words, man.
Oh man, we gotta have a proper introduction. But
Hey, kind words, man. I
no,
appreciate it, man.
no problem. So this is episode 21. For people who don't know much about the interviews, we do 6 questions that the interviewee has no idea what they are, just to have more authentic conversation. But to kind of give an introduction to who Tyreek is, please give an introduction to who you are, what you do, what you're doing.
Yeah, first off, the fact that you say you admire me like that means a lot, man, because I definitely really respect what you do because you've been putting in a lot of work since you said, I'm going to start creating content. I've been peeping. I'm like, guy Zion, he puts in work. So I really do respect you, like you said. Like, that's definitely mutual respect. But as we said, my name's Tyreek. I guess, a little background about myself for those who don't know me, aren't familiar with me. I currently go to Ohio State. I work in social media. I work for our student newspaper, and I'm the social media editor there, and I'm also an intern for the Columbus Blue Jackets social media team. So, that's really my passion. Also, have a YouTube. I haven't uploaded in a while, but I guess Secret is coming out now. I'm planning on making my comeback, so I'm gonna be back on the YouTube grind very shortly. And I also have my own Instagram page, which I'm sure you'll probably ask about at some point. But Halftime Hoops, me and my friend Jamil, we run that account, and it's been very successful over there. And that's pretty much me, man. I try to be a good big brother. Try to be a hard worker as much as I can. Yeah, I'm pretty simple guy, man. I can't lie, pretty simple guy.
Yeah. So I don't really know how me and Tariq actually met. I don't have a fond memory. Do you have one?
Gotta be hooping at some
I
point.
want to say it has to be hooping
Has
at
to
some
be.
point. But like I said, I don't have a fond memory of the time we met. But I want to say it was because I think you're a year younger than me. I want to say because you're class of
For
18.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
so yeah. So he's a year younger than me. And I think because I transferred to Springfield High School my sophomore and junior year. So maybe just kind of pass each other or hoops and stuff. And then kind of after high school, that's when people kind of, we hang out a lot more. Not saying that him and I hung out, but we did play a lot of basketball together. Yeah, either at the YMCA or the freaking El Bethel rec, bruh.
Beth,
Bro, don't want to talk
love
about
Beth.
that. Don't want to talk about that, cause no, but yeah, it's really cool to have Tyreek here. And like I said before, he has no idea what the questions are, so I'm super excited to kind of dive into who he is as a person and what he does. So Tyreek, are you ready?
So, was born ready, man. Let's get it.
Let's get it. So question number 1. Tell me who you are and a little bit more about yourself. Because I mean, obviously, as a person who watches you and what you do, I know that you have a big love of sports, but that's really all I know about you. So please tell me your upbringing, how you got into the love of sports, and then just personal stuff. Whenever you're ready,
And hope we got time.
let's get to
I've
it.
lived a lot of life, man, in these 23 years, man. I mean, I was actually born overseas. I'm actually British. That's where I was born. Most of my friends know that. I would hope so. But yeah, I was born in England. My mom's side of the family's from there, and she met my dad, but he's my stepdad, but that's pops. That's really like my dad. She met him when I was like 10 months old. They ended up getting together, staying together. So he was in the Air Force, and that's how we ended up moving around a lot. So we lived, around the world and around the country too. Like we lived in a lot of different places. I'd say the coolest place I lived was probably Japan, and that's where the love for sports really like came from. Yeah, I lived in Japan. Kind of crazy when I tell people, but that's just what the Air Force life brings, man. But that's where the love for sports really came from. Because every season I was playing something, whether it was soccer, outdoor or indoor. I was playing baseball. Baseball was one of my first loves growing up. And basketball, flag football. Like I played something every single season, and really, I think like the real love for basketball came after I played flag football for the first time, and I knew how much my dad loved basketball, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try. And I think the moment I really like found myself as a fan was, I don't know if you ever played NBA Live.
Yes, bro.
Okay, so
NBA
we're
Live.
talking NBA
Oh,
Live.
NBA Live '05 was my favorite. Like that's like top 10 games of all time, bro.
Yeah, that's one of the best. The first one I played was '08. Had Gilbert Arenas on the cover in
Yes,
the
sir.
in the gold Wizards jersey.
Woo!
That was the first basketball game I ever really played. And I was like, damn, like this is actually cool. It's fun. I hope I can cuss on here. My
Yeah,
bad.
go ahead, go
I
ahead.
was like,
No, you're all good.
I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I was playing it like every single day, and then I just told my dad like I want to hoop, like I want to play basketball, and really, I guess the rest is history. I mean, I never ended up being amazing at basketball, but it's
Yeah,
brought me a
yeah.
lot. Like it's brought me to where I want my career to go, and everything. And after I found out I wasn't gonna go far in basketball, I wanted to find a way to still stay around the game. Even though like my journey into sports media wasn't ideal, because when I first got to college, I didn't think sports media career was really obtainable. Because it just seemed like as a journalist, you kind of got to start out super low. You're not making anything money wise. And something that my dad always told me was like, you got to be able to pay your bills. You got to be able to stay up, on your money. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take the risk of, making like $20,000 a year covering some high school team in the middle of the United States or something like that. So I ended up trying to do accounting because I'm like, well, my uncle does it, my aunt does it. They make a lot of money. Like maybe that would be cool. And found out I really hate accounting. Like I couldn't
Yep,
see
yep.
myself doing it. See myself doing it, man, for like the rest of my life. So I had a difficult conversation with my dad. Well, at least I thought it was gonna be difficult because I'm like Dad, what I'm doing, I don't like it. I'm thinking about changing my major. And he basically told me like, son, like this is your life, like do whatever you want with it. So made the switch to communications, which ended up being journalism. And around that time is when halftime hoop started too, and that's really when I found my love for like social media. So that's really what I'm doing now. That's what I'm super invested in, is how to become the guy in social media when it comes to sports and the NBA eventually. So that's I hope I didn't get too off track. That's pretty much me. Like I'm a pretty simple guy, man. It's like really sports, my family. I don't know if you're gonna ask more about family, but
No,
like
yeah. So
my
that
family's.
yeah, that's kind of like it's not the second question, but like a sub question is kind of really knowing like the dynamic between you and your family, because I you do have two sisters, and just kind of want to hear more about like your upbringing aside from sports and all that stuff.
Yes, I actually have four sisters.
Four. Oh, I am so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know which sisters you were thinking of, but I have four sisters. My older sister, Shakira, and we have the twins, Jada and Janae.
Yeah,
They just turned
the
18 not
twins.
too long
Yep,
ago.
the twins. Is what I'm
Yep.
talking
And
about.
then
Yep.
my youngest sister, Maya, and then I also have a little brother, Malik, who's 6 years old. So like, big family. Also my nephew, he's two going on three this year. So yeah, a big family, man. I'm a big family guy. I strive myself on being the best brother I can be. I feel like that's just so important, especially for most of my life. I was the only boy in the family other than my dad, and I was the only son. So I really wanted to set a big example for my sisters, especially my younger sisters. And I feel like with what I'm doing now, I feel like they're proud of me. I mean, they look up to me in a way. So like that's something I really like strive myself to be, is just a good role model for them. They definitely keep me going, man, because there's times like this journey's not it's not linear. It's so difficult to reach the goals that I'm trying to reach. So it's very important, to have people in your life that keep you going, and they definitely keep me going, man, because I don't think I would still be, on this path that I'm going without them.
Yeah, and like, do you think that it's very hard for, because like so I also come from like a woman household. It was just my mom and my sister. like, do you think it's very hard to kind of navigate you kind of being an example as a man to your sisters because of like like you never want them to be talked to by certain people, guys specifically. So like, what was your or how did you set an example for your sisters to be like, this is the type of person you should look for if you ever want to be in a relationship with, if that makes sense.
That's a great question. I feel like you could probably relate to this too. Like having a household that is dominated by women probably teaches you to like respect women in a better light. I felt like I really had no choice but to learn how to respect women because if not, I'm outnumbered and dealing with a lot of women. That's a lot of emotions, and it's like you're not
Yep,
gonna
yep.
win. You're not gonna win, even if you're respectful. You're still not gonna win with women, most of the time. So it's like kind of have to learn how to navigate that. And just like you said, like I just want to set the example. Like you should look for a man that respects you, a man that you can, relate to, that you can, talk to easily. And I really try to be there for my sisters as they're there for me too. Like I really need their support as well. So it's like, you kind of, I try to teach them, this is what you should find in a man is like somebody that's personable, somebody that's respectful, somebody that you can have fun with, check all of those boxes and somebody that's, goal driven too, because as a man, you don't want to be with a man that is not trying to be shit in life. Like
Right,
that's
right.
probably the worst type of man that you could be is somebody that has no goals, no ambition. So it's like you want to be with somebody that, works hard, is going to do his best to reach his goals and, provide for his family because, man, you're supposed to be able to provide at the very least. So those are kind of like the things I try to set an example of. They haven't entered the dating world yet. Really, they're very reserved. So it's like, except for my older sister, but it's a little difficult to be an example for an older sibling in a way. Like you can kind of like give them advice and stuff. For the younger ones, they look up to you. No matter if you share the same gender as them or not. Like they're gonna look up to you in some way, one shape or another. So I just really try to set that example for them. Like, no, I've never been asked that. Like that's actually a very good question. I
No,
didn't
yeah, and
realize.
the only reason I asked that is because like I recently had an episode with my aunt and like basically telling her that because my mom is still a single mother, so like not a she's a single mother, and I felt like one of the hardest things for me to do was get in a relationship because I felt that if I were to ever get in a relationship, it would kind of throw my love in my mother's face, like maybe she thinks that she's not deserving of love, and who am I to try to present that to her? So like it's something that I've really been fighting with, but we kind of get into that later. So I want to save that for later.
Okay.
But let me just kind of just switch topics real quick before I go deep into that. Because yeah, well, whatever. Let's go to question number two real quick. Question number two is like, both of us being from Springfield High or Springfield, we know like our community pushes sports and pushes that next level of whatever sports, whatever. But what is something that you wish that we did more for the next generations to understand that sports isn't the only route? And like it can go deep because you and I both know people who have you know they were D1 athletes in high school. They're in the D1 thing now, but like now we kind of see, I don't want to say a fall off, but we see like maybe this isn't working out, and we see the fear in what what they're facing. So like what is something that you wish that we did more for the next generation for them to understand? You don't have to do sports. You do journalism. I'm doing YouTube video podcasts. So like, what do you wish that we did more of?
I think like glorifying the other avenues. Like you kind of answered it in a way. Like you got to find ways to like make everything exciting for people, and people got to believe. Like people have to believe. I feel like the thing with Springfield that can be an issue sometimes is people don't believe that there's much outside of like the city or the area. Like there's a lot outside of Springfield, a lot outside of Dayton, a lot outside of Ohio, man. Like there's a lot of opportunities out here. Like things are achievable. You really just have to have a dream, to go along with it. Like something that I've realized like in the last couple of years, man, is like sometimes you got to dream, not sometimes. I think all the time you kind of got to dream crazy, man. You got to be somewhat delusional in a sense. And I wish we taught our youth that, outside of sports. I feel like a lot of people have that delusion in sports, which is good. Like you should believe you can make it to D1. You should believe that you can make it pro someday. Because if not, then you're not gonna, continue to strive and get better. Like that's definitely important. But like you said, in the city, I feel like people believe it's either sports nothing, and I feel like you kind of have to get out of that mindset, man. There's so much that you can do. Even if you're not the professional athlete, you can still work in sports in so many different avenues. Like if you find a passion, like maybe you want to be like a trainer or something, or maybe you want to coach, or even outside of that, maybe marketing or communications. Like there's so many different avenues. If you like taking pictures, photography, like there's so much that you can do outside of sports, and there's so much even outside of working in sports that you can do. And I just feel like just need to do a better job of like glorifying that in Springfield, because I feel like that's not something that's done too often. I that's why I try to like support everybody that I see that's trying to be something, because I feel like sometimes support can get lost in Springfield. Maybe it's because that's just how we feel in our hometown. But I feel like if we support each other, then there won't be that just urge that is make it to the pros or nothing, or make it to college or nothing, off of a sports scholarship. Like people just need to strive to be more just outside of sports, and just not let that be like everything that makes them up, because there's just a lot more to this life than dribbling a basketball, throwing a football. Like there's so much more.
And I think like one of the biggest things is understanding that the parents have to do a better job of not trying to live their dream through a kid. Like
Yes.
the whole point of you being a parent is to um, give advice and to be there for them, not set them up for a position where you thought that you were going to be in. That's not what life is about. And like I
It's real,
think,
man.
go ahead.
I was just gonna like that's why I respect my dad so much, and I love my dad so much, because you know I came up to him saying I wanted to play basketball, and he loves basketball
Right,
probably more than I do. Like he
right, right.
loves hoops. Like he's 50 plus, and he still hoops to this day because he just loves basketball that much, and he never forced his dream upon me. Like I went up to him and said I want to play, and he doesn't do that with any of my siblings. Doesn't do it with my younger brother. He doesn't force it on nobody. So that's why I respect my dad so much, and I feel like my dad has taught me so much outside of basketball, just about life in general. Like you got to have those difficult conversations with your kids. That's one thing that he's really taught me. Like a lot of the conversations that he has with me, be looking at him like, man, I don't give a fuck about what you're saying. But then I think about it a little later, and I'm like, nah, dad was actually speaking facts. Like I realized it down the road, like, damn, if I didn't have that conversation with my dad, I probably would have fucked this up. Like I really respect my dad so much, and like you said, more parents I think need to be like follow that road a little bit. Like you got to be able to not be your kid's best friend, not force your dreams upon your kids. You kind of got to like parent them in a really really difficult way sometimes, but it will make them a better person, and it will make them believe that we can achieve a lot in this life that Springfield most people might not think is obtainable.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I'm very grateful of is having the mom and sister that I did, my immediate family, just because my mom allowed us to explore different avenues. So like one thing that always made me mad about being uh I guess a lot of people would call it, a black white boy. I hate that freaking term. But because I allowed myself to see different avenues when I went to Springfield, people were like, nigga, who are you? What are you doing? Why do you blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah? And I'm just like, this is who I am. Like, the certain exposure I got makes my creativity, vast. It's like I can see everything, I can do everything. But to a person who doesn't see the other side and, that's all they know, that's what you're going to become. And like something that is very important is exposure. I think we need to bring back, even though funding or whatever, but we need to figure out a way to have. We need to figure out a way to give elementary kids, middle school kids, high school kids a trip either outside the country, outside the state, because a lot of kids they don't see past Springfield, they don't see past Dayton, they don't see past
Yeah.
Cincinnati. So it's like, what if these children were exposed to different cultures, to different sports, different ethnicities, to different food? What would their life actually look like? Because when you come from uh, a lot of broken homes in Springfield, or just I hate this makes me sound like I'm freaking hate on Springfield, but I'm not. I really want to build it up, but
Yeah.
um, when you come from a lot of broken homes in Springfield, the only thing you're going to see is single mothers, abuse, food stamps, all that stuff. So it's like, how do you how do you break that? It starts with exposure. If I'm just looking straight my entire life, I'm only going to see what's around me. If I look left, if I look right, there's a whole world around you. So that's something that has always stuck with me. Like, regardless of the fact of how people felt about me, of who I am, I've never changed. I'm always carrying a laptop for music. I'm always dancing. I'm always loud. I'm always like, there's so many different avenues that you can make your lifestyle and income. And I think kids have to understand that. Like, even if you do want to do sports, fine. But you have to understand how serious that is. You're gonna have to get a trainer. You're gonna have to do AAU. You gotta listen to your coaches. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people really need to push themselves even harder than what they're doing, because other kids in California and Texas, they have that stuff in their schools. We have coaches in our schools, but they're not, taking the time to coach us outside. Some people don't even have access to gyms, don't even have access to weight rooms. So it's like, I think showing kids correct exposure will really help them see the other side. Cause like one thing I hate is how they like they do that once a year field trip to DC, but you gotta have good grades, blah 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 blah. But dang, that kid's still a kid. He needs to see that stuff. He should see the history. He should see, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's something that has always bothered me, and I feel like we should kind of go back to. If you had anything else to add,
I was just gonna say that's so well said. Like, I told you my background. Like, I've lived
yeah,
around the world, and like when I moved to Springfield, and people were saying like, yeah, I've never been outside of. Some people said even outside of Springfield or Ohio in general. I'm like, damn, like really? I'm
how?
just like, bro, like I've been around the world. I've seen so many different places, and it's just like that's a great point. Like I feel like it keeps people boxed in a way. Like you said, they just don't think like anything outside of Springfield is reachable. And it's like we live in the most digital age of all time, at least to date so far. It's probably going to get even crazier. So it's like that's what I've realized in my journey. Like especially with social media, I'm like you can really be anything you want to be. You just got to be dedicated. You got to put in work, man. Like you got to have craziest work ethic. You got to be okay losing hours of sleep at night, whether it's editing a video or trying to get this Photoshop right. Like you gotta grind to get to where you want to be, man. It's just, but it's attainable. Like it's easier to get than it's ever been in history. So that's what kind of kills me. To see people just be okay with like where they're at, like staying in Springfield. I'm just like, I just wish that everybody would want a little more for themselves. And you don't need a college degree to do everything nowadays. Like you can do so much without a degree. It's crazy. And I know school's not for everybody, so that should make people more dedicated and motivated to do big things in life.
Yeah, so like, man, it just it really makes me want to build my community, because it's so important for, again, people to see the other side, and for especially black kids to know that, like, bro, you don't have. I'm not gonna say you don't have to, but there's other stuff that you can be interested in. Like one of the people that I look up to is Tyler the Creator, and like kind of how he explains how his nuances were always hated by people who looked exactly like him, and I felt the same way. I'm like, I'm over here doing music, I'm over here doing being loud and doing also sports, but I can be serious when it comes to talking. I can talk in public, like, but kids that made fun of me for it. Let's see you get on the stage and talk in front of thousands of people. You're not gonna be able to. You have anxiety, you have a depression, but I had to battle through all that stuff and still do it and perform at the same time. So it's like certain exposures do help you with relieving yourself of anxiety, depression, all that stuff, and then it goes even further, because like now I see what I can do. You can do more than sports. You can do more than talking. You can do more than whatever you want to do. So I think having the support, and it goes back to friendships and family. Building your own community outside of your community is such a big thing, because you can't do it by yourself. So it's like the people around you either have to be on the same agenda, or have to love you for what you're doing. And like a lot of people don't understand that, because it's like, I'm sure you've been in meetings where it's like, well, we have this big idea and this is how far it can go, and then a week later they're not talking to you. Well, I shouldn't have been around you in the first place. But like, we understand how far communication goes. Um, yeah, I just think finding the right support and building your own community within your community is a serious thing, because like that is what catapults you to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Going into question number 3, This is kind of like a bland question, but like I just want to see how you answer it. How important is consistency with who you are? A lot of the times I see you either in the gym, you're posting on all different platforms, doing sports announcer stuff, like different Instagram pages, YouTube pages. So like how important is consistency with who you are, and then what are you trying to achieve in your life? Like I know you said that you also want to do, you want to get to the NBA, but if you could just answer both of those. So the first half is how important is consistency with who you are, and then what are you trying to achieve in life?
I mean, you said it, man. Consistency is like everything for me. Like I try to strive myself on being as consistent as possible, and it's not easy because there are days where I wake up and I don't feel like leaving bed. Like I'm just like I don't feel like doing this. Like I don't feel like getting up and trying to be great today. But kind of you got to force yourself out of that mindset. Some days, man, because greatness is not gonna it's not gonna wait on you, man. You got to go get it. You got to go chase it. So that's really how I've gotten as far as I have, and I still got a long ass way to go. I got a long road ahead of me, but if you're not consistent in anything that you do, like you're not gonna reach your full potential. So you really got to lock in. You got to try and be the best you possible every single day. That's something I strive myself to be. Like I'm very routine based. So if my routine gets knocked off, that might knock me down for the day a little bit. So I just try to stay on schedule as much as I can. Just stay on pace, and just I gotta set that expectation for myself. So if I do have an off day, I know I can still reach that level again. So that's really something that I've learned, over the last 4 or 5 years is just trying to be as consistent as possible. So yeah, I mean, if that's my advice to anybody, like consistency is really key. Like that's probably like you said, that's a bland saying that's so repetitive. Everybody says it, but it really is in everything in life. You got to be consistent with what you do, with the habits that you build, with the people that you keep around you. Like you got to stay consistent with that in order to reach the highest level that you want to reach. And I want to reach, to answer the second part of your question, like I said, like making it to the NBA, like that's my dream. I don't know if it's working for a team or working for the league itself, but that's something that I really want to obtain someday, man. It's just you know just find a way there because working in sports is so cool. It's so fun. To work in the sport that I grew up loving, just be like, excellent. I don't even know a team in mind. Like, I love the Celtics. That would be kind of cool to work for my team. I want to live in Boston. I don't really know. Maybe it's a cooler city than I think. But
Right, right.
that's that's probably the biggest goal of mine right now. But the thing about goals, they shift all the time. Like, a few years ago, I wanted to be like a Stephen A. Smith type of guy, but now I want to work in social media. Like, so goals change all the time, and hopefully, I elevate past those goals and I reach an even higher level than what I maybe think I can reach. So, that's the goal for right now. But I think one of the main goals is just to be the best version of myself on whatever I do. So if the goalpost does shift, hopefully I can still be the best me that I can be possible. I think that's one of the more important things that I strive to be in life.
Yeah, and like so I do have to kind of give you your flowers, brother. Um because one of the main reasons, cuz you don't even know this. One of the main reasons why I started wanting to post again, and like don't take this the wrong way. I'm going to say it's going to be kind of like messed up. But one of the main reasons why I started posting again is because I was always telling Tyreek, "Bro, you're doing great. Hey, keep posting, blah 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 blah." But I got tired of it. I'm like, how could we do the same thing? Like I see you grow with how you are, and like you're making
Yeah.
you're soon to be making your lifestyle and income. But I'm like, if he's doing it, why can't I do it? I'm just as creative. I'm just as passionate. I'm just as whatever. But what lacked of mine was the consistency. And like I've watched again a huge fan of what you do. I've watched pretty much every episode or every video that he's posted on his Reek Knows Hoops, and kind of seeing his channel grow from 1 to 100 to 3 to 5. I don't know where you are right now. I stopped counting, but like to kind of see how consistency really does take you a long way. I have to tell you that you are one of the people, actually the person, on why I started even posting from the beginning of the year. Because like I had to kind of, in a sense, study how he just kept going. So it's like to see someone from my hometown do it, at a full scale, like have a routine. At this time, he's posting this on other social medias. If there's a breaking news, he's posting this. Like sometimes I see breaking news on his stuff before I even see it on like
Yeah.
ESPN and all that stuff. So it's like some that is something that I have always admired about you that I just need to tell you. So thank you, Tyree, for being an example. Um,
And
and kind of going
that's
into what you're trying to achieve. I think that you nailed that on the spot, saying goals change because like there's so many things that we see that can be obtainable, and it's like well, how do I get this? But then you also have to put in mind like if you put your own twist on anything, it becomes who you are. It becomes what you do. So something that I do have to challenge your thinking about is potential is not a thing. The only reason why I say that is because if you have the ability to do something, you're going to do regardless. The only reason why you say it's potential is because the expectations that you have or that other people have. But if you take potential away, who do you still have? Yourself, your ability. So that's something that I want to encourage you to think about is like potential is not a thing. Like you know the goals, you see it's there, you see that it's attainable, you see the people that have set those goals and have reached them. You can do the same thing. So potential is not a thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've never thought about potential like that. Like that's actually a really good point. But I appreciate the flowers, man. That actually means like a lot more than you know, bro. Like for real, because YouTube grind is so nasty. Like that's probably the most difficult place to really build traction. So like the fact that you said that I like inspire you, like that's one of my main goals, especially when it comes to like people at home in Springfield. It's just to show like you can do something. Like you guys can make a way. If you have a passion, follow it, see where it takes you, because it could take you places that you never even imagined. And I guess that's what you mean by potential isn't real. Like you can really surpass everything that you ever imagined. So I really appreciate that, man. Like that's love, and that's all more the reason that I need to make my return to YouTube. So
Bruh, do it, bro. Because like, especially with how YouTube is growing, like, I will always say to people, if you're trying to get into the world of content creation, the biggest thing about who you are is your impact. Your impact is impactful. Someone is watching you, regardless of the fact if you don't
yes,
think that your video gets a view, 1,000 views, 1,000,000 views. Somebody is watching. So for you, I just need you to know that someone's watching you, bro. And like, regardless of the fact of how you feel about it, take your time on what you do because the content that you're producing at the rate that you're producing it is one of the most amazing things I've seen. So I will always continue to push you, man. So yeah,
it's
that
love,
is
bro. And
for sure.
I'm gonna give this piece of advice to you too.
Yeah,
Since you're a
go
fellow content
ahead.
creator,
Yep.
it's actually from my dad. My dad be dropping a lot of gems. If you
Yeah.
ever had a conversation with him, that man be dropping gems. He told me when I was recording YouTube videos and stuff. He was like, even if your views aren't great, it was like a video that you dropped might have made somebody's day. Like it might have changed somebody's day. They might have been having a bad day, and then they watch your video and it just makes their day better. Like, and when I thought about that, I'm like, damn, like that's actually crazy because like you may not be getting 50,000 views a video, but maybe you get 50. Out of those 50, one person watched your video and it just made their day better. So just something to keep in mind as a content creator, man. Like, your video could change somebody's day completely. So, maybe it's bad. Maybe I have a take and they don't agree with it and they're pissed off about it, or maybe it's good. So just keep that in mind, bro. As you're on this journey as well, because you've come a long way just like in the last, I would say, few months. I mean, like you said, this is episode 21. 21 episodes, like that's not easy to obtain, bro. So I'm proud of you too for like what you've done so far, and I can't wait to see like where this journey takes you as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm not gonna get on emotional right now, but thank you. Going into question number 4. Yeah, going into question number 4. Besides what you do on a day to day basis, like like with sports announcing stuff, everything that you do, how do you still find internal happiness?
It's actually a really good question. I feel like one of my biggest issues is like not prioritizing myself as much, like outside of maybe working out. Because it felt like for a minute, like watching basketball was kind of like a job almost because I'm watching the like see stuff that I can talk about, you know. So like it kind of became more like a job instead of just enjoying the game as much. And then I feel like something that brings me joy is my work though in a sense because like working for the Blue Jackets is so fun. Like I would say there's maybe been one day that I ever went into work and I'm like I don't want to be here. It wasn't so much because of work, it was just because of it was just a long week. A lot of work had to be done that week. I think it was like our trade deadline week and I had to go in early on a Friday. It was a rainy day and I'm just like I kind of don't want to be here. That was the only time I ever felt that. Other than that, I love my job. I love working in social media. um let's say like how I find internal happiness. I feel like hanging out with friends really helps. Just hanging out with the guys, going to see my family since Springfield's only an hour away from Columbus. Get to go home pretty often. I feel like seeing my family, my younger brother. Me and him have got like a really close bond now. Like I feel like we got a lot tighter over the last few months. Seeing my little sister, seeing my nephew whenever I can see him. That really brings me joy. Just family time, friend time, and other than that, I mean, watching Netflix brings me joy too. Like that's kind of how I like decompress at the end
Yeah.
of the day, just chill out, watch a favorite show of mine or something
Yeah.
like that. Like I'm a very simple person. The gym obviously really I think helps me focus, helps me lock in and just release some of that stress too. But those are really the main things, man. Like I'm pretty simple. I wish I had a deeper answer. Like I don't know. I go on hikes every week, but I don't do that. Like I
Nah,
just
nah, man. I'm not. I'm not even asking for like stuff that like because even though those are simple to you, those still help you, and that's what matters
yeah.
is that it helps you. Because like I think that's something that we all try to really focus on is because like life is about internal happiness and peace and just kind of being at a mellow state of mind because there's a lot happening in the world outside of what you're doing, so it's like like where do you take the time to sit down and think, to sit down and you know what I mean, like just take a breath because there's a lot of crazy stuff happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we all need to exercise as people is to really understand what internal happiness is. It could be as simple as reading a book. It could be simple as watching a Netflix TV show. Like internal happiness goes a long way because a lot of people think that in order for a relationship through people, friends, family, wife, husband, sister, they have to be the ones to make you happy, and that's not the case at all. They're there for support, comfort, to love you, all that stuff. But what actually makes you happy is something that you have to figure out. And I think that's something
Yes.
that we have to continue to push the boundary of, um, is because like if you're continually trying to figure out what makes you happy in other people, then you have lost yourself. Because then it's like, well, who am I? So, and that's something that I've
Then
been like really trying to get away from is like because I was such a people pleaser. I was like, man, how do I make you happy? Blah 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 blah. But then it got to me. It was like, dang, I have no original thoughts. I have no nothing. I'm always thinking about other people.
bro,
So it's like,
bro.
go ahead, whatever you gotta say.
I mean that really just hit home, man. I'm not gonna lie, because like I've been through like whether it's family stuff and just like being disappointed in like how maybe some people in your family acts and how that affects you or relationships. Like man, I'm getting a little like I went through like a kind of a bad breakup like a little over a year ago. Like it was like December of 2021, and I just like I lost all like passion. Like I was just down for like a minute, and like that's when I started reading. Like that was the first time I'm like, all right, I bought a book like 2 years before. I'm like, maybe it's time to read it. And I read it and it really like brought me peace. I would read like a chapter every morning or like every night. Like I'll just read a chapter a day. And it really brought me peace and it just like really like calmed me down. And like you said, man, because like if you put your happiness into a person, people, or maybe it's even a thing like work or something like that, as the moment that shit goes wrong, you're gonna break down and you're gonna lose yourself. Like it happened to me. I've seen it happen to friends, family. Like the moment you do that, it's gonna break you down, man. So it's like that's why I'm kind of proud of like how far I've come since then. Because the last time I had like somebody break things off with me or I broke it off with them, I didn't lose myself. I'm like, okay, it sucks, unfortunate, but there's more to life. I'm happy with myself. I'm able to push forward for it. So that's like so well said by you, man. Because like you said, if you can't put that happiness into people, because anybody can leave at any given time in your life, and the moment that happens, Another thing my dad told me, he said people can leave you at any time, so you got to be content with yourself so it doesn't break you down. So that really hit home what you just said, man.
Yeah, and I think with understanding how serious the potential of people leaving your life is, I think people just have to be at peace with who they are. Because one thing that is very hard to do is allowing someone to change your character, because as soon as someone changes your character, they've won. You know what I mean? So it's like, they shouldn't be able to change your personality, how you speak, what comes out of your mouth. Like they shouldn't be able to they shouldn't have control over that. So I think the more we understand internal peace, internal happiness, um, our reactions, there it is. Our reactions will be more understood, because it's like, if someone says I'm leaving you, they expect you to, no, please don't go, blah 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 blah, and that's a power trip. If someone says, well, I need to leave, okay, and just leave it at that, because like, that you've done all you could for whatever type of relationship that is, and that's all that needs to be said. Your actions showed it, your words showed it. What else do you really need to do? So I continue to or I'm going to challenge you to continue to seek out what your internal happiness is, and find that peace within yourself, because um, from what you said, like, you just recently went through a breakups, and I'm sorry to hear that. But at the end of the day,
Okay.
like, you're Tyreek. You do what you do. You wake up and post. You wake up and love, doing the stuff that you do. So keep being Tyreek, because no one else is you. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, going into question number 5. Um, has society ruined your view on if you wanted to raise a family? We see how much negative outlooks black fatherhood has, and or how toxic relationships are a norm. Where do you put your faith and hopes of raising a family now?
I don't think it's ruined it. I think it's maybe challenged me a little more to like try and find a good partner that I would want to bring like kids into this world with. I think that's maybe a more difficult thing. But I'm pretty religious. I feel like God's gonna guide me to the right woman. To make my wife. Raise a family with hopefully someday. So I don't really like question it too much. I think that's another like part of the growth I've had like over the last couple of years is just realizing everything that's meant to be, it's gonna happen at some point. You just really gotta have your faith somewhere. Whatever God you believe in, just have that faith. Have that faith that it's gonna work out in its favor. So it's difficult though, man, because like you said, like toxicness has almost become like character trait of people, and people believe like have to be this way to get women or to get men. It's just like it's not. It's not being genuine. Being a genuine person always wins in the end. Like all that karma is gonna come back to you at some point. Or if it's not you, it's gonna be the kids that you bring into this world. Like they're gonna suffer because of it. So, I hate that that's become so normalized, and it kind of needs to stop at some point. But people they'll learn either the easy way or they'll learn the hard way eventually. Like it's gonna catch up to them. So, I don't think that's ruined my view though so much as like I haven't lost faith in finding somebody. I feel like some people might go through that because they see like these viral posts of women cheating on their dudes or vice versa. And it's just like it's a nasty world for sure. Like there's a lot of nasty people out there, but you just got to be smart and have faith that when you find that person, hopefully it's the one for you, and you guys can move forward in life. So I've never really been asked. That's such a good question. All of these questions are really good, but that's
No,
a
no,
great
thank
question.
you.
Like,
No, I think like the only reason why I say that is I'm kind of going to put myself on the spot. Is
yeah,
like growing up not having my dad present. Like, my dad was in my life, but he wasn't presently there every day. Kind of, I had to force myself to view manhood through the sake of other friends, other schools, other whatever. And when they showed me toxic was the way to go, whatever. I'm like, man, maybe I should become that. And then it got even deeper, because then I was trying to hook up with my friends' girlfriends. I was trying to, like, it was bad. But because I've seen that with the people I was hanging out with, that's what I did. And I think now, getting to the place where it's like, it's hard for me to to want a relationship with a person because I know where I'm at in my life. I'm not ready. I'm not gonna say to commit. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm ready because I don't feel like maybe I'm even man enough. I mean, and I know that's something that like you can grow with the person or whatever. But I think one of the hardest things for young people to get relationships in is you don't really have a foundation of who you are. And for
Yes.
me to try to figure myself out through you is an error because then I'm always relying on you. Now, as far as a healthy relationship, you can rely on someone. You can, talk that out. You can have a good communication. But as far as someone that's trying to figure it out and get there, it's hard. And then going back to what I said earlier about how I want to talk about it was like my mom is a single mother, and obviously looking at her and seeing that like what if I were to get in a relationship, I feel like that would be throwing my love in my mom's face because then she won't feel worthy of love, and that's something that have always wanted to tell my mom is like you are worthy of love. You will find a husband, you will find a partner, um, and that's something that just has sucked for me because it's like if my mom is raising a man, raising a daughter, and she's independent, I could do the same thing for the rest of my life. But then you kind of see how lonely the other side gets because it's like when your kids leave, who are you going to share your time with? You know what I mean? So to kind of piggyback off what you said, society hasn't ruined it, but I am scared to bring a child into the world just because of how society is. Like with the politicians are crazy, bruh. Like with everything that they're saying, with everything that they're doing, like it's just insane. But I also have never wanted my kid to feel depression, anxiety, all that stuff. And like I know that stuff like, people will say, well, you can't prevent that. You can't take everything away from them, which I completely understand. But because of the state of the world right now, I'm just like, I don't know if the best thing to do is, you know, raise a family. Like there's a lot of people, a lot of kids who are in foster homes, who are in adopted homes, who are homeless that need a family now, and I feel like that would be probably more my route. But
Yeah,
if you had
that's
anything
true.
else to pick you back off of,
Yeah, that's true. But to like kind of give you some hope. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
at
Yeah, for
least
sure.
with like the at least with like the raising the kid. I mean,
Yeah,
that's one thing that you can control is how you raise your kid.
right.
So with you, I mean, definitely sorry that you didn't really have your dad in your house growing up, but that probably gives you more motivation to be there for your kid. To be that father figure. For them to grow up with. So that should like that should give you a little more hope. Like I'm gonna be a great dad someday. You should definitely like have that mindset. Like I'm gonna be the best dad in the world. Like you should have that mindset because you didn't have that growing up. And even though I did have that, I have a really good dad. I still want to be the best father I can possibly be if I end up having kids. I want to be the best husband I can be if I end up getting married. Like that's just something that I really want to strive myself to be. Like that's gonna be a whole other like outside of my career. That's gonna be goals in my life is to be the best father and husband that I can be. And that's one thing that we can't control. So it's like even if it is a scary world, the world's only gonna continue to be scary. For us, for our children, for our grandchildren. But one thing that we can't control is how we operate our household. When we do reach that part in our life. And back to your point, like kind of said like you don't feel like you're ready for to be like true relationship guy. I kind of feel the same way in a sense, because even like the last girl I messed with, like we were kind of like in that stage where it's like, we hang out all the time, every day. We do a lot of relationship stuff, but it's not a relationship because neither one of us are ready for that kind of commitment. And that's very mature that you have that mindset because the worst thing that you could possibly do is starting a relationship and knowing that you're not ready, and the other person seems like they are ready. Because somebody's gonna end up hurt. More likely, it's gonna be the person that's ready for a relationship and they find out, oh, this person's not ready. So that's very mature that you have that mindset because it takes a man to really admit like, okay, I can't get in anything serious right now because I'm definitely not ready for it. So I commend you on that for sure.
No, thank you. And I do want to ask a question, and like, if it's a sensitive subject, you don't have to ask or to answer. But I know that you said a lot of stuff about your dad, but what about your mom?
Oh, my mom's like my best friend. Yeah, I feel like I haven't talked about my mom a lot, which is
It's all good. I just
crazy.
wanted to ask because like, I don't know if she like passed away or something, so I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Nah, mom's still alive. She's still alive. Yeah, my mom's like my best friend. Even though I'm not gonna get too into like the details about her life and stuff. But my mom's raised me like really well. Like I was a great student because my mom made sure every day when I got home from school that homework better get done.
Hitting
Otherwise,
them
you're not doing
books.
nothing.
Yep.
Like I remember as soon as I would get home, sit down at the kitchen table. Mom might make me a snack or something, but I'm doing homework. Like I remember that so vividly, like third, fourth grade. Like I remember those moments. Like my mom, she really raised me to be the man that I am. Like it's important to have your mother in your life, and she's definitely just been a huge impact for me, man. Like just I think she's taught me like if I can have a woman in my life that I love, like how I love my mother. Not in that sense, but like I would do anything for my mom. Like if she asked me to, you know, pick up a car, I would figure out a way to pick a car up. Just because like I respect my mom that much, I love her that much. So like I would want the mother of my kids to be how I view my mother. Because I feel like I can talk to my mom about anything. I would want that in a wife too. Just I want my wife to be a motherly figure like that. So I don't know why I haven't spoke about my mom a lot, but my mom's my best friend, man. Like don't get that twisted.
No, yeah, I'm not. No, yeah, that's why I had to ask him. I'm like, yeah, he talked about his dad, but he didn't say anything about his mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going to the last question. So, like, okay, so you were born in. Say that again. You were born in where?
I was born in England. There's a small town called Banbury. It's like an hour and a half outside of London,
Wow.
like not too far from London.
So because this is how I asked the question. So my question was because we are American,
Okay.
what do you wish? What do you wish to educate yourself about on different cultures?
Okay, well, if it helps, I'm a dual citizen,
Right,
so
that's what I'm saying.
I
Because
am
like
American still.
I was like, yeah, I kind of feel bad, but
I am American still, so okay. So can you ask the question?
yeah.
Ask the
So
question again.
yep. So basically, like, what do you wish that you can what do you wish that you can educate yourself on about different cultures?
Oh, that's a great question. Um,
So
I've
so
never been asked that
yeah.
before, man.
So let me kind of expand your thinking. Like, um, something that I've done recently is travel. I went to California for Rolling Loud, but something that I've really saw a lot of was the Asian community and Latino community, Mexican community. I don't know what that community is, so forgive me, guys, if I don't know your
And
ethnicity.
it,
It's whatever. So I've seen a lot of their cultures and how they are and how they operate with each other. And something that I wish that I could understand more of is their language, their food, and all that stuff. But why they're so in tune with their community versus how black people kind of aren't. And like that's something that I wish that as a whole, human race that we can take from each other is, well, what do you do that I can take back into my race and kind of, distribute. So that's what I'm asking you is like, what do you see, I guess is a better question, in other cultures that you wish you can take back into your own?
okay, yeah. Since I have like I've lived around the world, so I've like kind of like examined how like Japanese people, operate in Japan. Even though I was like a kid,
I
but
bet that was so
I was
cool,
kind of
bro.
was man like travel to Tokyo someday if you can.
That is literally nope. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm trying to do that next year. So I'm talking to God about
Hey,
that.
make that happen, bro. Tokyo is one of the coolest places I've ever been. But the first thing that came to my mind, maybe it's because I'm watching this show. It's called Elite. It's on Netflix. And one of the characters, their family is Muslim, and I feel like Muslim people they're so disciplined and they're so dedicated to their religion, to how they're very strict in what they do. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do a lot of stuff. They don't sex before marriage. Like they don't do a lot of stuff. They're so disciplined, and that's something that I wish I could learn more about. It's just maybe not the religion as a whole, but just how to maintain that discipline. Like how do you fast for a whole portion of like a year? Like how do you guys do that so consistently and make it look so effortless? Like I really applaud that because I'm like if I don't eat for like a few hours, I'm hungry. I'm getting hangry at some point.
Right, right, right.
Like like, and I'm not gonna act like I'm a saint. Like, I imagine like not having intercourse for years until you get married. Like, I like that's just like kind of crazy to me. Like how they really operate like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I just I really like applaud just the discipline. So that's something like how I talked about consistency earlier. A lot of consistency is discipline, and I'm still not the most disciplined person in the world. So I would really want to like learn and understand like how they kind of program themselves to stay disciplined, to stay on course, on track with their way of living and their their beliefs. Like I feel like that's so commendable, just how they do that because the average person like in America, you're not gonna find people fasting that period of time, like people that aren't Muslim, a part of that community. So that's just something that I really like. Just applaud how they do, man, because they are so disciplined and they say so strict to their ways. I feel like that's just something that a lot of us can learn from in a way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Discipline goes so far because it can even go further as, and maybe this is a different type of discipline, but like how strict certain governments are in different countries about like how they use social media, firearms. They don't have a huge rate in criminal activity. Like this year alone, I don't know if this is true, but I can always get fact checked by somebody. But I think this year alone we have like in the hundreds of mass shootings at schools and stuff that aren't even national, but like like we have that much just this year alone. This is only 3 months, 4 months into the year. We have over 100 mass shootings. Nigga, how? Nigga, how?
Man,
And then like I don't
sad.
know, I don't know what country it is, but like I saw like the last mass shooting that they had was like 98. Imagine if the last mass shooting we had was in 1998. How would our country be?
Last one that we know of was just what
two
last week.
2 days ago at Nashville. So it's just like
It's like
it doesn't make sense on. I'm not going to get deep into that, but basically I
we
do
talk about
wish.
that all day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. One thing I do wish is discipline because that is so broad with how like with how everything is like um, because us as Americans, we need discipline, bro. Because like we always think we're the better country, but now I don't know if you've seen like the U.S. dollar's not about to be worth nothing in the next few weeks, or it's what like they laid off all these jobs, and we still owe trillions of dollars to other companies, and you know what I'm saying. So it's just like maybe we really need to sit down and listen to other countries on how they operate their nation community and use it over here too. I don't know. But yeah, that I'm glad you answered with discipline because that's something that we all need. Yeah, so those are all the questions that I have. This is the segment where I give the interviewee a chance to ask me one question only. So if you have a question or if you need time, let me know.
If you could give somebody one piece of advice, whether it's about
Ah,
I don't
this
know if
que-
somebody's asked
this
you this
this
before,
question's hard. Go ahead.
whether it's about content creating or just finding your lane in life, just expressing yourself, like anything. One piece of advice that you maybe live by. What would that advice be?
What advice do I live by, or what advice would I give? Because those are two different questions.
I'm allowed to ask both. You can
Yeah,
answer
okay.
both.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So what advice that I live by is use what you have. That is what my mother has told me from the beginning. Use what you have. I've always felt like going up into content creation that I had to have the best camera, the best laptop, the best whatever. But at the end of the day, you still have yourself. You still have a cell phone, which can take you miles away from stuff that you want to do. And like we see the different types of um, editing and the different types of whatever that people are doing just on their phone. So it's like use what you have, whatever is accessible to you, use it. Use yourself, use your phone, use whatever. There are people out there who are also willing to sow into you. So what people don't know about everything that I have around me, it was all given to me. No lie. This camera, this laptop, the other cameras that I have, it was all given to me just off the simple fact that they saw someone who wanted to do something in life and they kept going at it. And that's such a relief for me because I didn't have to pay a dime for anything. The only thing that I recently paid for was this Mac Mini, but like everything else was given to me for free. The speakers, laptop, everything around me was for free. So it's like that just shows how far using what you have, which was just my phone at the time, how far that can go because people want to sow into you. So use what you have as the piece of advice that I use day to day. What advice would I give to people who are coming up into content creation? Is what you said. Um, this is hard. What advice would I give? Okay, so something I would tell someone who is coming up into content creation is understand the consistency. This is the word of the day. The consistency first, because if you're not willing to put the work in, you'll never see the other side. One thing that one thing that Tyreek and I do a good job of is being consistent no matter what. And like I don't mean to bash anyone, and like forgive me if I don't like watch a lot of people locally who are consistent with just content creation. But Tyreek and I are the only people I know who are consistent with what we do on the scale that we do it. And like you could probably fact check me because again I don't know locally where we come from,
Yeah.
and it's not bashing on anybody, but it's just like we see the work and where we're trying to get in life, so we have to get that extra gear. Um, so yeah, please understand the work is the work. If you're not going to do it, you're never going to see the other side. And like, um, yeah, that's pretty much it. The work is the work, bro. Because like, oh, process is something that you have to understand too. Because like Tyreek has explained or has expressed, there's going to be nights where you don't want to do anything, where you don't want to edit, where you don't want to upload, where you don't want to like you do get I call it lazy hour, which is it happens a lot, but you do get a lazy hour where it's like, man, if I just sit here, but then like you realize, well, man, that's not going to get done. It's not going to get uploaded in time. It's not going to whatever because what people don't really understand is Tyreek. I don't know what you upload on, or I mean, I know what you upload on, but I don't know what you use to edit, all your stuff, but for to do interviews like this, people, you have to understand like it's an hour of work. So think about an hour of three different views going into one timeline, and then you have to export that timeline, and you have to upload that timeline. On this computer that I have that I'm running this off of, it takes 3.5 hours just to export my edited timeline onto my hard drive, and then it has to go from the hard drive to YouTube. That takes 2.5 hours. So if you have to work that day, my day starts at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. just to get it done in time for me to go to work and it be uploaded with me being at work. So please understand, people, that the work is the work. You have to fall in love with what you do because if you don't, then it's just going to feel like another job. So
Hey,
yeah, go ahead,
I think I'll add on top of that. Don't let views and
bro.
likes and
Yes,
shares
yes.
drive your fuel because you will run out of
You
gas
would get
way quicker.
disappointed, bro. You would get
Look,
disappointed.
and another thing, like there's no shade to Springfield or anything. Don't expect
Support.
downtown
Say it, Tyreek.
friends.
Say
Don't
it.
expect support because look, this is one of my favorite sayings. I don't know who I stole this from, but they were a genius when they said it. Strangers will make you rich, especially in
Bro,
content creation, man.
bro.
Look, your biggest supporters are going to be people that you've never even met in real life. You probably don't even know their real name. Those are going to be the best people in your corner. And you mentioned earlier about building your community. My guy Malik Childish, I don't know if you know Malik, but he creates content very consistently from around the area too. That's one thing he said is like one of the most important things. It's just building a community inside of your content space, and that's something that he's been able to do. He streams a lot on YouTube. He's been doing a lot of big stuff, so I commend him. He's been building his community out, and that's something that you got to strive to do as a creator, is just finding people that like your content and then cater towards them, make that content for them. Don't make it for your friends. Else, I stopped even sharing my stuff on Facebook because I'm like, why waste that avenue, man? I'm gonna just trust the process of the people that already watch me and hope that it reaches a bigger audience someday. So, don't expect support from, your friends, your family, nothing against them, but nobody's obligated to support you. So just find those people that will support you. And, eventually they'll make you rich someday if you stay consistent.
And
You said,
then last thing before we get to the closing remarks is like uh, we both have had comments from people on our YouTube page or like whatever where people are like, "Hey guys, I watch you. I'm from wherever. Keep doing what you're doing." I've had people from Texas, Canada, Like, bro, people I don't know, like, hey,
Oh,
Noisy
for real.
TV, much love, bro. I see you posting, blah, 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 blah. Like, first of all, thank you. Like, that means a lot. But it's like, just go back to what Tyreek says. Like, people who support you on a bigger level, they're national, they're international. So don't really expect it in your own city because, like, again, exposure goes a long way. They might not see the vision of what you have. They might see the love what you have for it, but that's it. They're like, oh, he loves to do it. All right, turn the other way. Like they're never gonna, do the necessary things. But
Eventually they will, and
yeah,
yeah,
but
like you,
that's when you see the bigger scale and the numbers and all that stuff. But we're not even worried about that. We're just trying to be consistent with it first.
yeah,
Um,
bro. Last thing,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
like you just like you just reminded me of like how you say like you reach people that are like not even American, like outside the country.
Come on.
Bro, there's this one dude. There's this one dude. My guy Bonsu. He comments on every video of mine. Watches every video. He's from Turkey. I remember I was
Bro,
live streaming.
wow.
Remember I was live streaming the NBA draft last summer. I was first off I was on vacation. This is how sick I was and it's how sick I am. I was on vacation in Florida with the twins and with our cousin Sierra, and we literally they went out to go get food. I stayed in the hotel to stream the draft for like 3 hours. I was on stream for like 3 hours, and my guy was in the stream at the time. I don't know what time it was in Turkey. I think it was like way early in the morning or something like that. He was watching the stream. I'm like, that's love, and that shows you like, yeah, people that you don't know that you'll probably never meet in life are the ones that will probably support you the most. So know, if you're getting into this journey or if you're in the journey, keep that in mind.
For sure. And with that being said, guys, it has been another episode of Noisy Talks with Friends, episode 21 with my friend Tyreek. One thing I do want to say before we get off is, Tyreek, I do hope that we are able to get to the place, not even get to the place. I want to do a better effort of supporting you outside of social media. I want to, talk more in real life and just be in the same space just to create. Like, we don't have to do the same thing. I just want to make sure, like, this isn't fake love, bro. Like, this isn't for cameras. This isn't for nothing. I want you to know that I really do want to be your friend, and I want to extend all type of grace, all type of advice, support, whatever I can in real time, because the only way that we can grow together or to grow separately is together. So I just want you to know that, like, I really do want to create together or just be in the same place and just work on stuff together, so we can both have the same drive. But yeah, this has been episode number 21 with Tyreek and Noisy, and we are out.